Group 8 interview Mr. Alan T. Spotto. Mr. Spotto has been in the insurance business for more than 35 years. His roles in the past include insurance agent, owner, and senior sales consultant. Mr. Spotto has traveled across the U.S. training individuals for his expanding insurance business. Mr. Spotto is currently the director of Utica School of Insurance, president of Professional Insurance Consultants, and a senior sales consultant in his business, Alan T. Spotto Professional Insurance Consultants.
Actually, my style of leadership is probably more coaching than directing. I don't necessarily believe that people need to be directed in that fashion. I think if you coach by example and then you support that person, delegating, yes, we all have someone who's going to delegate responsibilities to us, but my focus would be more of a coach or a mentor. I think so, for the most part. I think people are looking for some direction. I think they're looking for someone who's had the experience. I think people react well to my style because I try to apply my practical experience, and not so much in a teaching manner, to set an example and to show people that no matter where you come from, if you have a path and you have a direction and you have a plan, you can always focus on that plan to get where you want to go.
Mr. Spotto's comments support his statement that he uses a coaching leadership style. The coaching style requires that the leader involve himself with followers by getting encouragement and soliciting follower input. Mr. Spotto does this by using practical experience to set an example. However, Mr. Spotto also stated that he tries to show that no matter where you come from, as long as you have a path, direction, and plan, and focus on that plan, you can get where you want to go. This supports the supporting leadership style. In this approach, the leader does not focus exclusively on goals, but uses supportive behaviors that bring out follower skills around the goal to be accomplished. Both of these two leadership styles use high supportive behavior.
The activities that I enjoy that are me time there's a wide range of activities, anywhere from hiking, kayaking, canoeing. I also enjoy drawing, photography, playing the guitar. I love to garden, and I try to get as much me time as I can to balance off I'm pretty assertive, I'm pretty aggressive when it comes to business. So to balance that and to give myself that downtime, I absolutely take time for me and do the things that I enjoy doing. Yes, boundaries. We all clearly have boundaries. The important thing for me, anyway, is to learn my own limitations and my own boundaries. I do set boundaries in my life. First and foremost in my life is my wife and my children and my grandchildren and our friends and our life together. And work, obviously, is Laura's work, my work is important to us. But if you don't set boundaries, what will happen to you, in my opinion, is that your work life will encroach on your personal time. Your personal time, in my opinion, should be first and foremost. And then work should come later. And of course you have to focus to be successful. But finding and learning those boundaries within yourself and learning your own limitations is the key, at least it was for me. And it's interesting thinking about discipline with respect to balance and the balance between your work and your life. And there's no question there have been times where work, as an example, when I was running a business and I had 150 plus people working for me, my focus, of course, was being successful. But I recognize, and successful in business, of course, but I recognize that I still had a wife, had a family, had enormous responsibilities to them. And you almost can, if you're lucky, you'll catch yourself leaning a little bit too much to one side or the other. The key is to be able to catch yourself and be willing to admit that, maybe this is not a good thing. Maybe I should change direction and balance my life. So you have to create boundaries and limitations. The most important thing to do is for friends and families is to say, stop. Today you need to focus on work. And on the flip side of that, you also need to be able to tell the people that you work with that, stop. I need a little time for me, my family, and children and grandchildren. Stress. Do we experience stress? Yes, there's a misconception, I think, at least it was for me, that as you get older and we all tend to slow down, that stress goes away, and nothing could be further from the truth. You do, however, learn to deal differently with stress. You don't necessarily overreact like I did when I was younger. You tend to slow down a bit. Think of the consequences of your actions before you take those actions. And do I still encounter stress? I do. Hopefully I handle it a little bit better. But clearly, if you think as you're getting older and you become more successful, that stress goes away. It does not. What are some of the stresses? The same as they were years ago. Business, finances, getting there on time, doing a good job, being proud of what you do, and family and personal life stresses. They do not go away. You just handle them differently. Typically, the work-life balance and the mental and emotional health, how it impacts us collectively as a society. I'm a firm believer that all of us deal with stress in work and life and balance differently. For myself, excuse me, and I can only speak for myself, I have somehow been able to separate the two. It took a long time to get comfortable with that because when I was younger, I felt guilty because I wasn't working hard enough. I also felt guilty because maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to my family that I should have. So as you get older, you realize and you recognize that there is a middle ground somewhere that you feel comfortable with. And does it help you mentally and emotionally? It clearly does because you're more relaxed. And you're more relaxed with yourself, and you're willing to admit as you age that, I've made some mistakes, and I'll try to learn from them and try not to repeat them in the past. I also don't preach to people and tell them this is what you should do. What you should do is what works for you. If I had to give anybody advice, I'm not good at giving advice. As I said earlier, I like to teach by example. So my example would be this. Find that level of comfort that you're comfortable with. Don't let anyone else define your level of comfort. If it's work, if you want to work 90% of the time and you're good with that and relax 10% of the time, that's okay if it works for you, as long as it's not hurting anyone around you. If you're the kind of person who would rather have 90% of your time for yourself, that's okay, as long as you're comfortable with that. I found my own peace and I found my own level of comfort and my own balance. My advice to you is to find your own.
Mr. Spato's perspective on work-life balance is exemplary to those searching for an online leader who's continuing to fulfill this concept of comfort between work and life. During a time when topics such as work-life balance and leadership are popular for societal discussion without much representation, it was important to highlight an individual who could provide an audience with wisdom rather than just cliche methods of fulfilling this goal through behaviors such as ignoring emails on the weekend or waking up at 4 a.m. to exercise. Mr. Spato's interview discusses his priorities, leisure activities, and tackles misconceptions around age and stress to provide an authentic story of how he's reassessed his life to achieve and sustain work-life balance.
If you are here watching this video, it is our hope that you have been able to identify how to sustain a work-life balance. We would like to thank Mr. Alan Spato for his time and his insight on how to not only create a work-life balance, but how to also maintain this balance. Thank you for watching.